Now that I've talked your ear off with the housekeeping, it is my personal pleasure to announce to you Dr. Evan Mahoney. Yes, give it love, give it love.
I think we can get started. You don't need to do that introduction. Go ahead. Let her finish her work.
So Dr. Mahoney, he is author of several books. He's so modest. On SAA acupuncture. He just didn't want me to butcher this. And the kinetic acupuncture.
You're doing good.
In 2018, he presented the Neuroscience Convention in Dublin, Ireland, and lectured on the Downcook University in Los Angeles on Saam Acupuncture. In 2001, he presented at FSOMA's convention in Fort Lauderdale on the subject of Saam and kinetic acupuncture. He has also been a provider since 2000, a CEU provider since 2011, who is approved by acupuncture, those organizations in California, Florida, and NACOM. I'll give a very warm welcome and have a wonderful time.
Okay, thank you very much, Denise. Thank you all very much. Number one, I'd like to thank FSOMA for hosting these wonderful conferences. They're very organized, and I'm just amazed at their organization and what they put together. Thank you for all the Zoom participants as well. So we're going to talk about 4 subjects this morning. The first one is the interpretation of dreams. And I want to ask, how many of you remember your dreams or journal your dreams? Okay, that's quite a few number of people. So what I hope for you to achieve today is that you will be able to journal and interpret your dreams based on the 3 levels of human needs, which is coming from Saam Acupuncture. These 3 levels of human needs is a 5-element classification. And I think it's very simple, and you'll be able to do it as soon as tomorrow morning. And on the subject of dreams, I have a question up here on the board, and it is, what is the dream you remembered as a child? So I'm conducting kind of a research survey, and towards the very end of the lecture, you're going to see it's a research paper that I've written on dream interpretation. It includes survey questions. In my opinion, actually, the interpretation of dreams, I think we're in the dark ages. And with the 3 levels of human needs, I think it can bring out just endless possibilities. I mean, there's 100 avenues that you can study the interpretation of dreams. So for any students that want to do research papers, I'll just bring it up now. Okay, well, I have a research paper. I will find it at the appropriate section. So number 1 subject will be dreams, but actually that's going to be in the second part of the lecture today. Number 2 is Saam Acupuncture. How many are familiar or have heard of Saam Acupuncture? Okay, a few hands. How many use Saam Acupuncture? Okay, fewer hands still. I'm not able to, by the way, the Zoom class, I'm not able to see your responses. Maybe Xiao Wei can see the responses, but any Zoom participants, if you use Saam, you can let me know. Okay, I see it right there. One person raised their hand. Okay, so Saam Acupuncture. The next subject we're going to talk about is headaches, because actually that was the subject of this conference. It's a headaches and related conference. So we're going to talk about headaches, and that coincides with the last thing, which is Dr. Richard Tan's balanced method. How many of you are familiar with Dr. Richard Tan? Okay, this is amazing. Everybody's almost raising their hands. How about you on Zoom? Are you familiar with Dr. Richard Tan? So I see, yep, people raising their hands. So we're going to apply Dr. Richard Tan with Saam Acupuncture. And it's about diagnosing and applying Saam Acupuncture point prescriptions with the diagnostic patterns of Dr. Richard Tan. That's going to be kind of the first subject of this lecture. Now, can you all see that? This question, what is dreams? You can see that. Okay, very good. So we're going to be working off of my handouts here. Now, I gave the class, the live presentation, a handout. I apologize. I'm going to have a lot of additional things on my document that's not on your document. By the way, everything that's coming on the headaches lecture is from my book, which is Saam Medical Meditation. This is a 3-part book. It's Introduction to Saam Acupuncture, the harmonized combinations. We're going to be talking about harmonized combinations. And then the last section of the book is headaches with Dr. Richard Tan application. So for the live class, I'm going to pass this around. You guys can all take a look. I got 2 books. So you can just return them to me after the class. If you can just pass one back over there. Thank you, Demita. Okay, so the subject of headaches is in my book, Saam Medical Meditation, as well as the point prescription graphs that we're going to see with the headache lecture. Are you all following me so far? Is it okay? How about you on Zoom? Okay, good. Okay, so the interpretation of dreams, I have another book. This is the book number 3 or 4 of my Saam Medical Meditation series. You can buy all these online. By the way, I did do an article in the Florida State Oriental Medical Association, the Summer Journal of 2022. The interpretation of dreams is on page 21, the 3 levels of human needs. So there's a variety of sources you can access. And we're going to start with Saam. So Saam is a Korean traditional acupuncture technique. It goes back to the 16th century Chosun dynasty in Korea, and it's named after Master Saam. Master Saam was a monk and one of the great physicians of the Chosun dynasty. Sa means dwell and Ah means rock. So like other high priests of that time and period, he didn't let us know his real identity. The only thing we know is that he lived in a stone cave and treated many people. After meditating for many years, about 13 years, Saam opened his mind's eye and saw through to the core of acupuncture's mystery. Now, this is from when I learned Saam. I learned this in Samra University from my teacher, Dr. Tae Chung Chu. This is from his classroom manuscript that is still as yet unpublished. He has a clinic, a Samra Acupuncture clinic in Los Angeles on Wilshire Boulevard. So for any students that want to get their hands on this unpublished classroom manuscript of his, you'll have to contact them at Samra on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. And that's the source of all my materials. The 3 levels of human needs are derived from that classroom manuscript, which I've taken into the interpretation of dreams. And then here's a little fictional, Korean historical fictional book I wrote called Nongae of Love and Courage. Nongae was a heroine of a devastating war in 1592 Korea. So it's a fascinating historical tale of Korean history. And this is the book here. If y'all can see that, again, it's available on Amazon. I can pass this to the classroom and you can pass that around if you want. Thank you, Shangwei. Okay, so to begin with, now, Saam was a monk and he meditated for 13 years. And through meditation, he discovered the mystery of acupuncture. And his technique was revived in Korea in the 1980s. And that's probably where we get the 3 levels of human needs, which we'll be talking about later. But the key is that he meditated. And Saam acupuncture is a meditative acupuncture technique where we have you meditate on the acupuncture points. And we're going to be demonstrating that with the headaches discussion. But as part of, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, this is called myoclonus. Who here has heard of myoclonus? Okay, good, a few people. If you haven't heard of it, I'm sure we've all experienced. Myoclonus is that moment when maybe you're sitting watching TV and you're about to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden the body jumps. Well, we probably had that even in the acupuncture clinic. Your patients, what I think that is chi rising to the surface. When we are relaxed and comfortable, in my opinion, I think that chi rises to the surface because chi is a propulsive force of growth and healing. And it's from a point of relaxation and comfort that the chi rises and pushes at the boundaries of growth and healing. Another example of this would be if you ever watched an infant or baby sleep. As far as I understand, the baby's physical growth occurs when they are sleeping, their physical growth. And you may have seen your children twitch when they're sleeping. And in my opinion, that's a form of myoclonus, the chi rising to the surface to push at the boundaries of growth and healing. So I all want you to be aware of that, because you can kind of promote this with your patients. You can clue them in to what to expect during their meditative acupuncture treatment. And then here is the meditative art saying of chi: where the mind goes, so goes chi. Who's heard of that one before? Where the mind goes, so goes chi. So many people have heard of that. This is a major principle of Saam Acupuncture's triangulation technique. We incorporate the patient's mind with the technique through meditation on the chief acupuncture points. Now, there is flexibility in regarding Saam Acupuncture and how you apply it. When I learned from Dr. Chu, we typically would do, Saam Acupuncture. Who's familiar with the 5-element acupuncture, where you tonify mom, sedate grandmom? We've all been board tested on this, by the way. So we all should know the point prescriptions, and I'm not going to be giving you the point prescriptions today, okay? But we've been board tested. We should know these. Well, Saam Acupuncture is that. It's the Korean 4-needle technique where we tonify the 2 mother points and sedate the 2 grandmother points. Now, for females, we choose the right side, and for males, we choose the left side. The left side pulse is heart, liver, kidney. The heart and liver pertain to blood. And then on the right side is lung, spleen, and kidney. Lung and spleen pertain to chi. In theory, women have more blood than men, and men have more chi than women. So we always want to tonify that which is deficient. And that's where the left side comes in for men, because it's a yin pulse on the left side. So we want to tonify the yin in men. And the yang pulse is theoretically women are deficient. So we want to tonify that which is deficient on the right side. And that plays a part in the harmonized combination. I take this to another level, which we're going to see very shortly. But there is flexibility here. Now, you can apply left and right technique, basically, per your clinical findings. I'm going to present to you a very kind of rigid, orthodox structure that I try to apply with all my treatments in the harmonized combinations. But there is flexibility. We can go back and forth. So I have a rigid technique I try to fit in with my treatments, and I think I fit it in 100% of the time. So, but we do have flexibility. Well, you'll understand that in a moment. So these are the harmonized combinations of Saam Acupuncture medical meditation. I use the kidney and Sanjiao Junkyuk. I use the liver and large intestine Junkyuk. And these are at the same time, at the same treatment. Heart and gallbladder, spleen and small intestine, lung and urinary bladder, pericardium and stomach Junkyuk. Now, Dr. Richard Tan aficionados, this is balance method number 2. This is the branching method channel. And so this is my technique. And then this is also Dr. Richard Tan's number 2 method. So we will go into this right now. I'm not going to go through this, although I do want to read this from Dr. Wei Chi Young. Who's heard of Dr. Wei Chi Young or ever seen a lecture of his? Very good. Master Tong. According to the I Ching, the interrelationship of 6 divinatory symbols have certain correspondence. There is a correspondence between the first and fourth, second and fifth, and third and upper lines. It can be seen that such correspondences exist in opposite divinatory symbols and do not exist in the 2 that are the same in nature. Now, the correspondence indicates a dynamic harmony and unity of the 2 aspects in one. So dynamic harmony and unity of the 2 opposites in one. I kind of like in the harmonized combinations, a yin and yang as 2 pistons moving the motor, okay? This dynamic harmony and unity. I'm not going to go through the pivot lines and all that, but it's there. So Tai-yin channel corresponds to the 4th, which is lung and urinary bladder. Yang Ming channel corresponds to the 5th, that would be pericardium, stomach, and liver, and large intestine. Shaoyin is kidney and Sanjiao and heart and gallbladder. Okay, so I just talked a little bit about the difference about men and women on the left and right side. With my harmonized combination technique, I am also including the Richard Tan, Dr. Richard Tan, number 4 balance method. I incorporate it with number 4 is using the opposing circadian clock channel, 12 hours opposing whatever the chief channel that you've chosen. Now, for men, like I said, we tonify yin for men. So I'm going to be doing 2 yin channels. The chief yin channel added, I do the lual connecting point and the front mu of this opposing circadian clock channel. There's 2 yin point prescriptions and 1 yang, but that's not always because there is some same channels with the harmonized combination you'll see. We will go through that on the graphs. Now, for women being technically or theoretically deficient in yang, we do 2 yang channels. The yang will be the chief channel, and then added with this opposing circadian clock channel, which is also going to be a yang channel. So you'll see that in some of these graphs here. This is an example of the kidney and Sanjiao harmonized combination. On the left side, you'll see the male. Now, in both cases, for male or female, this is where my rigid kind of structure comes into play. Regardless of female or male, I'm going to stick with doing the yin channel on the left side and the yang channel on the right side. But it's just a matter of accentuating the chief of male or female. So on this graph here on the male kidney side, you'll see 4 points in red. These are the 4 points of the prescription. Point number 1 and point number 2 are the tonify mother points. It's lung 8 and kidney 7. And then 3 and 4 are the sedating grandmother points. So you'll see for the male, there's 4 points on the left. That's the chief. The yin channel is the chief for male. And then on the right side, at the same time, I do the Sanjiao channel, which is the Shao Yin, Shao Yang channel harmonized combination. You'll see the 4 points of the Sanjiao point prescription. And then I have an additional Lu connecting point here, which is point number 5. And you'll see also that on the front mu points, you'll see the 2 kidneys are chosen. The large intestine, by the way, is that opposing channel on the circadian clock, opposing the kidney. 12 hours from the kidney is the large intestine. So this is Richard Tan number 4 method. So you'll see on the right side for male, there's actually 5 points. I do the Sanjiao Junkyuk with Saam has Junkyuk, and Junkyuk is tonifying pattern. So when I say Junkyuk, it's the tonifying technique. So Sanjiao Junkyuk with the additional lual connecting point of the large intestine, and then you'll see the 3 mu points of the kidney, large intestine, and Sanjiao. Now, what I love about this is you'll notice, and this is the most often point prescription I do, is the kidney Sanjiao. And we all know why, everybody's deficient kidneys. So what I love about this is we can target kidney essence. All the mu points are down in the lower body. Today's lecture is also building on last year's conference where we talked about PTSD. So I'd really encourage you to go and find last year's conference. It's on a PTSD, piriformis syndrome. And we talk about PTSD. Fear is the physical disease. It resides in the kidneys. So when we do a PTSD treatment, we're bringing the patient out of their head and to these lower kidney points. And the fear is a physical disease is exemplified in Western medicine with the adrenal glands. They sit on top of the kidneys, releasing adrenaline for times of fight or flight. So fear is a physical disease and it resides in the kidneys. We get you out of your head. And that's a very mind-changing experience for the patient, and they're very comforting. It just brings them out of their head because they have anxiety, panic, everything's kind of rising up, yang rising, they're not grounded. So this is a great meditation. We do meditation on the chief points. It's a grounding technique. And we're going to talk about the triangulation method here. Okay, now just a quick note, since we are talking about headaches, I'm not going to talk much about this, but muscle tension headaches at the back of the neck. Well, any headache at the back of the neck, you always have to consider muscle tension. And a great technique is doing trigger point release. How many of you do trigger point acupuncture where you can get the muscle twitch and jumping? Okay, very good. And how about you on Zoom? Do you guys do the trigger point acupuncture technique? Anybody raising their hands there? I hate to say it, but trigger point acupuncture is the same as try it. It's acupuncture. Okay, so for muscle tension headaches at the back, you can do the trigger point. You can predict with certainty that you're going to get muscle jumps and twitches on the trapezius. And you can get great results in that first treatment by doing these trigger point techniques. Now, if you don't do trigger point, some patients, it's a very painful technique. So just do the normal acupuncture, just retain the needle. With trigger point, we're probing with the needle, finding that twitch response. But you can still get the same, the acupuncture passively done still relaxes the muscles. So anybody with back of the neck tension headaches, I always would do the trigger point first. Now, back of the headache, back of the head corresponds to urinary bladder and gallbladder channels, which we're going to talk about next. Are y'all following me? No? How about you on Zoom? Are y'all with me there? Anybody responding, Shangwei? Okay, so, okay, we're going to go into the headaches lecture and with Dr. Richard Tan application. And so since a lot of people have familiarity, I'm not going to go through each of these. The important points to know are in system 1 with the Chinese name sharing channel, tie-in channel, lung, spleen, Shaoyin, heart, kidney, they can bounce. Now, the important thing on system number 1 is that according to Dr. Richard Tan, with system number 1, we needle the opposite side of where the problem or the disease is located. So that's going to play system number 1. Now, system number 2, branching channel. This is the most commonly used system I do for headaches because according to Dr. Richard Tan with system 2, we can needle either side of where the problem or disease is located. So with Saam Acupuncture, we now have the flexibility. Like I said, I have a kind of a rigid orthodoxy with my technique, but we can accentuate left or right side with system number 2 because we can do both sides of where the disease is located. System number 3 is an interior, exterior, lung, large intestine, spleen, stomach. And according to Richard Tan, system number 3, we choose the opposite side. So we only have an opposite side. So there's less flexibility there on system 1 and number 3. And then we go back to system number 4, which is the opposite of the circadian clock. And here we have more flexibility again, because we can needle either side of where the problem is located at. Now, one comment on system number 4 is that with 3 harmonized combinations, there's not going to be an opposite circadian clock because they're the self-same channel. The heart gallbladder harmonized combination, they are 12 hours counterpart to one another. So there's no third organ on that one. The lung, urinary bladder also oppose each other on the 12-hour circadian clock, as well as the pericardium and the stomach. So we're only using kind of 2 channels on these. Okay, we're going to the triangulation method here. Okay, I want to talk about Saam's triangulation method because this is the meditation. Now, once again, we all should know the point prescriptions. Here we're doing, this is just the triangulation method, but we'll assume somebody has a kidney channel headache, and we're going to use balance method number 2. So the kidney on the left, regardless of male or female, the Sanjiao on the right. The triangulation method. Now, with a kidney headache, Sanjiao points 17, 18, 19, we can target with balance method number 2, you can use the kidney on the left or the kidney on the right, irregardless of what side, because we can use both sides, as well as the brain, if it's a traumatic brain episode or ear problem, which we associate with the kidney pathology, then we can use the Sanjiao either on the left or the right side. Does that make sense? So it's, no, like I said, there's going to be a lot of things that are missing. I apologize. Now, with the meditation, we want to bring the patient's mind to the two chief points, which are the tonifying mom points. If somebody has a headache up here, I want to bring, say it's a Sanjiao headache, and I'm using the kidney, I can use the kidney on the left, irregardless of male or female, that can be the chief technique. Lung 8 and kidney 7 are the two chief mom points. These are the 2 points that we bring their meditation to. Remember, where the mind goes, so goes chi. So we want to take, we'll call it chi stagnation, and we want to send it far away out of their head to these far away points on the 4 needle point prescription. So we're triangulating 2 points to the problem. This can be applied not just in headaches, but any part of the body. If you have a problem on the kidney here, you could do Sanjiao, the 2 points, Sanjiao 3, gallbladder 41. And because Richard Tan is either side or opposite sided, you can still use the Sanjiao on the right side, irregardless of it's a left or right side problem. Does that make sense? Okay, it may require some study. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to just talk about temple headaches with the 3 systems here. There's no system number 4 because once again, with a temple headache, which we think of as gallbladder channel, their heart and gallbladder, there's no system number 4 because they oppose each other on the circadian clock. However, with balance method number 1, Dr. Richard Tan balance method number 1, name sharing, the Sanjiao connects to the gallbladder. So and this is an opposite sided technique. So if somebody has now with my rigid orthodoxy, I always do the Sanjiao on the right. So if somebody presents with a gallbladder channel on the left side, then I got a match. And this is all about finding a match. Aha, I can use the Sanjiao junk yolk on the right side and it targets the left side. Okay, so that's balance method number 1. Now, heart, gallbladder, these are the branching channel. This is either side where I can do, if somebody has a gallbladder on the left side, a gallbladder headache on the left, I could do the heart on the left or I could do it on the right side. And that's the flexibility that you can use. You can do it on either left or right side with the heart because this is branching method number 2. Then we go to number 3, which again is only an opposite sided approach, less flexibility. So once again, if somebody has a left sided headache with my kind of rigid technique, I could target that, or right-sided headache, I could target with a left-sided liver channel point prescription. Here is the graph points and the triangulation method. Method number 1, the Sanjiao connects to the gallbladder. So in this case, there's a match if you do the right side Sanjiao with a left-sided gallbladder headache, and you can connect to that. Now, I have the graph pointing to the kidney pointing to the headache. Now, this goes back to this idea of a dynamic harmony and unity that Dr. Young had stated in his Master Tung. Now, the kidney does not balance to gallbladder headaches, okay? However, there is a dynamic harmony with the kidney and Sanjiao. The kidney, they accentuate, they harmonize and intense the effect. So even though there's no balancing method, I still am going to use these techniques. Again, with this technique number 1, there may be a direct match. If with my rigid orthodoxy, I always use the Sanjiao on the right. So if somebody has a left side headache, then I could do this rigid orthodoxy. But again, there's flexibility. You could choose the Sanjiao on the left side if it's a right-sided headache. Balance method number 2 with gallbladder temple headaches are heart and gallbladder junk yolk. Now the heart is heart on the left can target left side or right side gallbladder. So I love this. This is the most balanced method number 2 is always going to be like kind of the go-to because of this either sided approach. And I can stick with my rigid Saam harmonized orthodoxy here. So heart number 9, liver number 1 are the 2 tonify mom points of the heart junk yolk. And if somebody has either a left side or right side gallbladder temple headache, I have them meditate on these far, far away points. And by the way, when we meditate, this is a coaching technique. I coach the patients to meditate on during the treatment and then after the treatment. when they're not in treatment, when they get a chance to go home, relax, lay down, they can meditate as if the needles are still there, and they can just remember there's 2 points, and they continue to send the headache to these far away points. We want to move chi. We want to stretch chi to create movement, to break up stagnation. Where the mind goes, so goes chi. So that's what I love about this technique. By the way, I've been meditating on Saam for 20 years. I had I'll get your question again. I had probably likely rheumatic heart disease diagnosis, probably when I was 10 or 12, growing up in Pennsylvania and playing in the cold wintertime. 18 years old, I started getting heart palpitations, which progressed very severely until about 31. When near death, I finally turned to acupuncture. And my first, you're going to read about it in my book. It's the opening story. I meditated on the acupuncture points that the doctor had done for me. And I felt chi. I meditated for 5 hours a day, and I still do. I meditate at least 5 hours a day, every day. I can feel chi. I feel it at these points all over. And I was able to finally get control and subside my heart irregularities about 3 weeks into that first acupuncture treatment, going regularly a couple times a week. But for 20 years now, I've been meditating. And even until like last night when I was restless, you know, I was doing a presentation, couldn't sleep well. So I meditated probably 6 hours last night and then this morning. So meditating on chi. Chi is a garden. Cultivate your garden of chi. What that implies is that it's a seed. Everything starts at a seed. And who can meditate and feel chi, by the way? Does anybody feel chi in meditation? Good, we got a few hands. How about you there on Zoom? Are you still with me? Good, we got somebody that meditate, they can feel chi in meditation. So it starts as a seed, which is a small feeling, and then you cultivate it. If you keep doing it, it becomes more lush, more full, and it becomes easier to do. You get the feeling quicker when you're doing meditation. So it's a garden, and so far my garden of chi has just expanded, and there seems to be no end to the growth that I've experienced and the healing. And I did subside my heart irregularities to such a significant point that they're non-existent at this point. Okay, balance method number 3 here. Again, opposite sided, so a little bit less flexibility. If somebody has, with my orthodox technique, I do the liver junk yolk on the left with the harmonized large intestine on the right. The large intestine doesn't necessarily balance to the gallbladder, but it is part of the harmonized dynamic. It accentuates the effect. However, the liver is the chief. And again, you can use the liver either on the right or left side. There's flexibility. With my technique, I always try to keep it left side with the yin. So liver, if there's a right side gallbladder channel headache, I can balance that with a left-sided liver junk yolk using the 2 chief points, which is kidney 8 or kidney 10 and liver 8 on the left side knee. And again, just meditate on those points. Bring all their attention to those far, far away points. We're going to move on. Are you all following me? I know it's a lot of, I mean, it's easy. I mean, we know the point prescription, but you may have to refresh yourself on it. It's like, it appears to be complicated, but if you know the point prescriptions, you know, we should all know them, and you can apply the harmonized combination. It's actually not too complicated. Sinus congestion, headaches, the stomach channel on the face, liver, large intestine, number 1. This is kind of an exception on liver 1, even though it's a less flexible technique. I find myself using this a lot for sinus channel headaches. So it's the large intestine. There's the liver, large intestine harmonized combination. It's the large intestine channel that balances to the stomach sinus. So the large intestine would be the chief. And why do I use this? Well, immune function, sinus, cold, basically look for cold. The accumulation of phlegm starts from exposure to cold, and inhibited digestive function due to cold creates phlegm, creates mucus, which can reside in the stomach channels. So that can also be immune system. You get a flu, you get a cold. So, well, what's the 2, who knows what the tonification points of the large intestine junk yolk, the tonifying mom points are for the large intestine junk yolk? Does anybody know off the top of their head? Anybody on Zoom? Does anybody know what the point on the 2 mother points are for the large intestine? Okay. Okay, so the points are the large intestine number 11 and stomach 36. Guess what? Those are like major immune system boosting points, right? I mean, is that correct? So that's why I like to use this technique, even though it's a less flexible, but I still do it. And also, this is a little spa or clinic tip. This is a spa luxury treatment, by the way. When we do the liver, large intestine, this is like the second most commonly used. It's kidney, Sanjal, liver, large intestine. Like these are the two most commonly used techniques. Liver for stress, epigastrial disorders. Stress can easily affect epigastric digestion, bowel movements. So to me, we do a luxury spa treatment because we bring an extra heat lamp to the face. So you got a heat lamp on the body, and then we put a heat lamp on the face, and you cover up the patient's eyes with a tissue. And also I do local points. I mean, with Saam, that the base is this harmonized combination, yin and yang with the Lua connecting if there is one. But then we of course do Ashi points. We channel connect with the Ashi points or where the problem is. So with the sinus channel headache, we're doing the local points, stomach 3, and all the stomach points on the face. But then we also use a heating lamp, cover the eyes up with a tissue. And you know, that's the luxury spa treatment. So it's great. Patients love it. Now, balancing method number 2 is the pericardium stomach. This is the more flexible option because pericardium balances to both sides. I can still use my pericardium on the left, which is pericardium 9, liver 1, and it balances to both sides of the sinus headache. And it is used with the stomach junkyuk on the right side. Part of the reason I don't do this one as much is just the pericardium 9 and liver 1. They can be a little bit uncomfortable, but this would be the go-to choice according to the flexibility of it. Y'all following me? Okay, questions? I'm sorry, I forgot your question, but go ahead. Yes. Okay, she's asking to go through why we use point prescription pericardium 9 and liver 1, because they're the tonifying mom points. Now, the pericardium is not part of the 5 element, so it's associated with the heart channel. We defer to the heart channel. The heart channel junkyuk also uses liver 1, and then it would use heart 9. In this case, the pericardium 9, these are the wood points on the pericardium channel or the wood point on the heart channel. So wood is the mother of heart, okay? So that's why we do liver 1. It's the wood point on the wood channel, and then we do the wood point on the heart or pericardium channel. Exactly, they're the tonifying points. I'm not gonna accentuate them so much today, but they would be pericardium 3 or heart 3, and kidney 10, okay? Okay, so it's on the book, you know, if you need a review, it is in the book I wrote. But again, we've all been board tested on these points. You can go back in your notes and you can find these point prescriptions. Okay, and then the last is balance method number 3, where we use the spleen, which will, with my rigid orthodoxy, spleen on the left will target a stomach sinus problem on the right side. And it's accentuated with the small intestine. Here we go, we got a number, oh no, we don't, I'm sorry. We don't have a number 4 there. For sinus, stomach and the pericardium, there's no opposing circadian clock. We're gonna move to the liver headaches. You'll notice at the top of the head here is due 20, that's the termination point of the liver channel. We can balance that with these techniques. Pericardium stomach, and again, it's that same point prescription we just showed you. This pericardium stomach is a knowledge treatment. Do 20, Shishenkong, these are famous for, who is an acupuncture student ever saw somebody or used them walking around in school to retain knowledge? There's a little later on, you'll see the energetic aspect of the pericardium and liver is inward motion, energetic inward movement of wind to retain knowledge. So I target do20, which is liver channel. I can target that with the pericardium. And this is kind of a knowledge stream. We're going to talk about that in the interpretation of dreams. Okay. And we're going to finish at what, 10:15 for the break? Okay, that's good. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move along here. Sorry, I'm going quickly. Balance method number 2, liver headaches. We can use the large intestine, which balances to the liver. And this is an either side more flexible technique. So if it's an eye problem, either side, we can do this one. This would be the go-to. And who's not going to use a liver channel technique to treat an eye problem? Eye problem, liver blood deficiency, yang rising, stress. So of course, I mean, the liver technically doesn't, with Richard 10, does not balance to the eyes. We don't use the self-same channel, but we're of course going to choose liver points. So we can use the liver, large intestine, harmonized combination with my rigid orthodoxy of left side for the yin, right side for the yang. With the left side points, we can still, or the right side large intestine, we can still target the liver headaches. Okay. Yeah, and then just an interesting match. If a patient has stress, ask, do they wake between 1 and 3 at night? That's the time of the liver. I kind of enjoy finding a match. Oh, you're under a lot of stress. Oh, do you wake between 1 and 3? Yeah, I do. Okay, liver, large intestine. And oh yeah, and the liver, large intestine is, if you look at the mu points, I'm going to go back up. The mu points, liver, large intestine. Now with this technique, there is Dr. Tan number 4 application, because the small intestine is the opposing channel of the liver on the circadian clock. So we got three channels that we can target. If you look at the mu points here, we got the mu of the liver. We got the mu for the liver. If it's a male treatment, I will use the mu of the liver. That's the yin technique. But then I will use 2 yang points, which is large intestine and small intestine. If it's a female, I use the liver as the 1 yin, and with 1 of 2 yin. The kidney is the opposing circadian clock to the large intestine. So I use a kidney channel in the mu points with the 1 lone yang channel, which is the large intestine. Again, okay, so anyway, it's interesting because epigastric disorders, stress affecting epigastric, this is the go-to treatment in a lot of cases, other than if it's cold and there's kidney or lower jiao problems, then we do the kidney. So we're targeting the middle jiao here if we're not treating the headache, or we're treating both middle jiao and the headache. You can balance to the headache point as well as to these points. Oftentimes I'll have the patient make a mental connect. Can you connect your headache to the large intestine points here and here? And by the way, you can also make a connection of any epigastral areas to those points. So where the mind goes, so goes chi, and we want to stretch it out. We want to bring the issue to these far, far away points. That's the power of Saam Acupuncture. All these points are the shoestring points. There's very strong chi energetics from the fingertip to the elbow and from the toe to the knee. So chi strongly resides in these points, and it affects the cerebellum. There's like most nerve endings on the fingertip and toe tip. So very strong technique and powerful technique. Gallbladder, heart for balance method number 3 for a liver orbital headache, do 20 headache, heart gallbladder. Then we got the 4th balance method, which is the small intestine spleen. There is flexibility here with number 4 method because it's an either-sided needle approach. So we could balance the spleen on either the left or right side to the liver channel headache. And I know it's getting kind of tiresome, so I think that's the end of the graphs. Kidney channel headache, there's the balance method. You can study it further. We are going to move into the interpretation of dreams. So are y'all getting excited? So that was not just to treat headaches. That was to treat any problem on the body. If you got a kidney stomach issue, you can balance it just like as if you just identify which channel the problem is located, and you can balance it there. And you meditate on these points, okay? And with the interpretation of dreams, not only can you identify the dream, but you can meditate. You can act on your dream. Here's one more thing, one last thing. With overthinking, I like this because I call this a double triangulation method. Overthinking, well, spleen, that's a spleen channel issue. Well, here, yeah, I think, yeah, or you can email me. If y'all can email me, yeah, it's in my book. Everything that I presented here is in that first book, Saam Medical Meditation. Yeah, I know. Okay, now just an interesting double triangulation, overthinking. So we're using the spleen small intestine channel, the harmonized combination. We're targeting the head. Now, according to my rigid orthodox structure, I do the spleen on the left and the small intestine on the right. So number one triangulation method, the spleen connects to this termination point, 220 of the liver channel. So we can balance there to the top of the head. And then if I'm doing it on my right side with the spleen, I can also target the urinary bladder points 6, 7, 8, 9 on the right side of the spleen. Simultaneously, if on the spleen channel on the left side, I can target Sanjiao 17, 18, 19 on either side of the head. Okay, so it's a total like head treatment, and we're bringing you out of your head on the left and right side. The mind blanks out. This is like if you're ever overthinking a lot. I like this. I've done this on patients, and it does have a good effect. Again, it takes a little study, and I'm going quickly here, so I do apologize if you're having trouble following along. These are the environmental factors of Saam Acupuncture. The lung and spleen junkyuk, the tie-in channels bring moisture. Lung is moisture and coolness. Spleen is moisture and warmth. That's the tie-in energy, brings moisture. The counterposing large intestine junkyuk and stomach junkyuk bring dryness and coolness, or bring dryness and warmth. There's the monarch fire with heart and kidney. I'm not going to go into too much detail on these. I do want to come down to the pericardium and liver. These are wind and minister fire. These are, I mentioned it already, but inward movement of air, storage of knowledge for pericardium, liver, inward movement of air, and increases pride or ego. And then Sanjiao, and also very, very relevant and useful is the Sanjiao and gallbladder. You'll see the outward movement of air, draining of knowledge pertaining to PTSD. With our PTSD, and I explained this in last year's conference, so you can find that online. We use the Sanjiao to expel the traumatic moment out of the head, out of the body. And it's just simply utilizing this energetic aspect of expelling movement out of the air. Gallbladder is, we're going to talk about this in a moment, for weird, synchronistic, demonic, or angelic possessions. Well, in the case of demonic possessions, we expel them, and also Dr. John Sarno's revolutionary rage, unconscious rage or anger. We use the gallbladder channel. I think I talked about that last year as well with the Sanjiao. I call it the Shaoyang ring. Okay, we're good to go. We still got what? 15 minutes. Okay, perfect. Okay, now we're moving into the interpretation of dreams. Now, this is a study of consciousness, and any study of consciousness, in my opinion, has to incorporate the incorporation of dreams, because they're a reflection of the unconscious or even the consciousness. We distinguish between consciousness and unconsciousness. Now, there's 4 levels of what Saam Acupuncture, what we call organ-centered consciousness. And organ-centered consciousness, we've all been through it, because it begins with us when we were students in our first semesters of learning about the 5-element theory. We're incorporating, and the first thing is, who's never identified, I got liver qi stagnation within their first semester, or I am spleen qi deficient. We've changed our understanding. We're moving into an organ-centered consciousness. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the first level. It's one's introduction or education into the theories of acupuncture medicine. And it's what we do in our clinic with our patients. I am certain that all of us are introducing our patients to organ-centered consciousness. We're identifying channel-specific pathologies. Is that correct? Okay. Now, the second branch of consciousness with Saam is identifying consciousness versus unconsciousness. And this is last year's lecture, but consciousness, we kind of think of PTSD as a conscious pathology, because it's a reliving of a traumatic episode or event. And the example would be if you've been in a car accident, and the next time you go through that intersection, you relive, you reimagine that event, that traumatic, harmful event replays in your head. In my opinion, that's kind of a consciousness. And so that would be kidneys. And I'm going to introduce this idea and we can think about it. It's not necessarily right or wrong, but the kidney may be like the organ that is relevant most to consciousness. And then I also think kind of with level 2 need, sexual human need, I kind of think of that as a conscious kind of being. So consciousness, you can debate it. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but consciousness may be affecting in the kidney. Now, versus unconsciousness, which we determine to be in the heart and gallbladder. And this I tie in, who's heard of Dr. John Sarno, unconscious rage? Okay, I'm not gonna have much time to go into that, but high achieving, successful people take on a lot of responsibilities, do-gooders. I'm gonna take this on for my new job, my family, and unconsciously there's a rebellion. I hate these responsibilities. I don't want them. I wanna abandon my child. I don't want to take care of it, but that would destroy my reputation. Or I don't want to do these things for work, but I would get fired. So it creates a conflict in the unconsciousness. And that can generate, according to Dr. Sana, unconscious rage. In Saam Acupuncture, with my teacher, Dr. Tae-Chung Chu, in his manuscript, the gallbladder pertains to revolutionary rage. And that pertains to the anger of the political situation, the political powerlessness, but it also transcends into intractable family stress relationships between spouses, the anger that you have that generates. Well, according to Sarno, these thoughts can build to such a dangerous degree in the unconsciousness that the ego has to form some kind of pain in order to repress these dangerous thought-building ideas in the unconscious, that if I was to act, it would destroy my life. So with this, we do the gallbladder channel to expel that wind. We utilize the expelling energetic aspect of the gallbladder to expel this unconscious pathology out of the body, out of the mind. So that's number 3 there. And then the 4th branch of organ-centered consciousness with Saam Acupuncture is the interpretation of dreams. Yay, yay. Here is the 10 minutes. Perfect, we're running time. And where did my file go? So this is going to be hard to see, and I really apologize on this. This is coming from an Amerisleep, I think it's a mattress manufacturing or pillow company. They did a survey of dreams, and I know it's hard to see, it's very small. So the first top, what's the most common recurring dreams? Falling, okay, great, so you can see that, 53%. The second one is being chased. The third one is being in school or being, and then the 4th, unprepared for a test or an important event. Flying, that's a common theme. Having sex with someone you shouldn't be having sex with, encountering a person who died in real life. I'm just reading down from top to bottom, and I can't read my own writing on my notes, and it's terrible. And I didn't get a chance to update my notes. Being late for a meeting, being paralyzed, finding out somebody has died, or dreaming of somebody that has passed away, spiders, snakes, and other animals, nakedness, money or wealth, driving out of control, being out of control in a car or plane, meeting celebrities, meeting a beautiful stranger, vacations in a wonderful place, experiencing apocalypse, unable to find a toilet, and pregnancy. Okay, being part of a movie or show, trapped or drowning. So, okay, those are the most common reported dreams according to this one survey, Amerisleep survey. Okay, now here's one theory on dreams. It's called neuroplasticity, and this in particular is the defensive activation theory. REM sleep as a mechanism to prevent the takeover of the visual cortex. There's a research paper here. Well, neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Neuroplasticity allows neurons, nerve cells in the brain to compensate for injury and disease and to adjust their activities in response to new situations or changes in their environment. What does this sound like? It sounds like chi. Chi being a propulsive force of growth and healing, neuroplasticity. The chi moving in the brain. Okay, here's a paper, defensive activation theory, where their REM sleep as a mechanism to prevent takeover of the visual cortex. What they say here is that when we close our eyes, we're cutting off the visual neuron connections for a small period, a period during the day. And they say that if we don't use it, we lose it. So as a form of preventing the loss of these neural connections, we dream visual dreams in visions to keep these neuron activities open while it's in sleep or darkness. That's basically the whole theory of this paper here. And I'm just going to skip through this. You can read most of it. I think I gave you a lot of it there. Term this defensive activation in human sleep is punctuated by REM. Now there's also non-REM dreams related to plans or thought. They don't really have much to say on this. With a lack of visual vividness and hallucinatory interlude. So we can have dreams without just being in visualization. So my question here is this a complete understanding of dreams to keep the occipital cortex from atrophy? It's kind of like a theory of stasis, in my opinion. It's just keeping things as they are. But as we understand chi as a propulsive force of growth and healing, isn't there growth? Isn't there a matter of growth in dreams that should be considered? So, alrighty. Okay, what are we on time? Okay, does anybody have any questions at this time? No. So at this point, I think I could take a break. I mean, I know it's a little early. 7 minutes. Okay, why don't we just continue on then? Okay, so before we take a break, I'm going to introduce to you the 3 levels of human needs. This, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tara. Did you have a question?
Oh, well, yeah, back when we were in the government, we talked about the DFC and the Gulf Island, expel that, and we were talking a lot about, I can remember like the pathology. I just wanted to ask. I seem to have had several cases of some profound mental impotency recently, and having a really hard time with these cases. And when we were talking about that, it just clicked up that could be part of that unconscious resentment or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or, the responsibilities and obligations.
Sure.
And then that tie in.
Yeah. So her question was like, she's got patients with male impotency, and she's wondering if that's perhaps rooted in a PTSD traumatic event. And it's possible. And it's not just for impotency. What I find a lot is in gastrointestinal disorders. When somebody comes in and they say they've had lifelong issues, then you go back and you ask them, did they have like traumatic episodes or incidents when they were a child? And this is also like Dr. John Sarno theory, where as a form of repression, like you got a lot of stress. Oh, I can take it, I can take it, I can take it, but it's going to come out in a physical form. And maybe as a traumatic episode as a child, they're taking the abuse, but it's going to come out in a physical form. Now, a lot of times, maybe impotency, but a lot of times epigastric stomach digestive disorders. Stress easily affects the stomach. So you can identify, definitely going back to childhood episodes and incidents. This is kind of a comforting idea for them because they don't understand what happens. Now, I don't, and one side note here, when I talk with my patients about post-traumatic episodes, I don't actually go into like the details of, oh, what happened? I'm not going to go into any detail on sexual abuse or family abuse because we're sticking, it's going to be, now PTSD, by the way, is kidney Sanjiao, and that's the conscious. If it's unconscious, then we do heart gallbladder. So we'll stick with the prescriptions. We're going to lead them towards the prescription. I'm not going to dwell on the details of the abuse. We're going to lead them to the meditation and the treatment to get them to meditate and give them some comfort, get them out of their head, get them stopping replaying by grounding them to bring their attention to some far, far away points. Does that help, Teresa?
Yeah, you had said something about, that's what you were talking about, how, something about kidney being the organ of sexual humanness or.
Yeah. It's going to be the kidney is the second level of human need, the need for sexual.
Human need, yeah.
Yeah, sex. We're going to talk about that after the break. So yeah, and sex, we can think about it, is sex a conscious or unconscious manifestation of the mind? It's up for debate. I think it's more consciousness, and it parlays into PTSD, how PTSD you may relive the event, replay it in that, even though it's not happening, as opposed to the real things like in a stressful relationship where you are getting there's friction between the spouse, but you have to repress it, So that's kind of an unconscious. Yes.
Are you gonna make connections to the elements? Five elements?
Yeah, and the interpretation of dreams, according to the 3 levels of human needs, is a unique 5-element classification. So it is a 5-element classification, but it's maybe something you haven't been introduced to yet. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I know we got what, 3 minutes?
Not a question, but just to answer other questions about the handouts. The handouts are in your net of knowledge on the right-hand side. So the link you got for the class, it should be there on the right-hand side for all of the classes and all the handouts.
Was that net of knowledge?
Net of knowledge.
Okay, so for the Zoom, the handouts, if you didn't get the handout, they're in the net of knowledge on the right-hand side. So if you didn't get those documents, how about everybody on Zoom? Does anybody on Zoom have any questions? Are you okay? I know we did a lot, and I know that we're all here for the interpretation of dreams, so we're going to go into that after the break. Okay, okay, so I think we can all take a break, and then we'll come back at 10:45. Is that correct? Yeah, and bring your slips forward too, if you have any dreams as a child. If you want, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Evan?
Okay.
Yeah. You can keep that on. Yes, there you go.
Yeah, these are Xiao Yang. The Xiao Yang is the Sanjiao and the gallbladder. So these are the consciousness and unconsciousness. And I'll probably review that because it's interesting, because there's weird things that can happen. If you've ever had like weird. Okay, are we all set? Okay, welcome back everybody to part 2. Now the last part of this class will be focusing on the interpretation of dreams. I just want to go back to this organ-centered consciousness model real quick. If you notice down there on the bottom of the middle with the kidney and the kidney Sanjiao and the heart gallbladder, the Sanjiao and the gallbladder channels are the Xiao Yang channels. And this is what I term the Xiao Yang realm. This is a phenomena where weird synchronistic events happen in your life that are coincidental. They can be good or they can be bad. So phenomena where there's holy or angelic visitations occur, or haunting and demonic possession, weird synchronistic events. And some people harbor one or the other. For instance, you ma'am, hello. Rhoda, you were telling me about your dream. So you would be, that was an angelic event in your life where we were talking at the break, and I think she had an angelic visitation where some angels visited her and protected her. Very good. We want to promote the angels, right? Now, if we have weird, bad things happening, we don't want to deal with that. Nobody wants that in their right mind. So we want to expel that. So that comes in, particularly with the Xiao Yang gallbladder channel. I think a lot of that, if you get a patient or you personally are afflicted by weird, bad energy. Also in times of high stress, angelic visitations occur when we're in moments of high stress and tension, in prolonged periods of stress and tension. That may be a saving them. Rhoda, that was you. She had an experience of high stress tension, and she had a visitation occur and saved. So the Xiao Yang realm, kind of gallbladder, can be the unconscious demonic weird things. This coincides with the unconscious rage or intractable relationship stresses between family members, coworkers, where unpleasant relationship things can occur, the threat of violence, which we need to turn down by using the gallbladder to expel the wind. Yes. No, we're not, I don't have time for that, unfortunately. We're gonna just kind of, thank you for all the slips of paper. I don't have time to go over the dreams today, but there is some common things that we are gonna talk about. And I'm gonna bring it up at a particular section. Yeah. Yeah, and that one actually, it's very small. So I apologize. That font on that graph was very small.
If you change your percentage, you'll also make your
Yeah.
the document bigger.
Yeah, like for instance here, can you all read that?
No, but you could actually make your document bigger.
I know. That one font was very small, even on your handout. It's difficult. I mean, you need a magnifying glass to read. But you can all can read this, right? For the most part, or on your handout. So we're gonna go a few pages ahead now. Are you okay?
You're like, could you?
Okay.
You're like a little
Yeah.
bit, 100, maybe
Sure.
120.
If I go 100, it kind of goes off page, but I can do it. Okay. So, or 120, you want it larger? Does it need to be larger?
Yeah, a little bit long,
Okay.
120 maybe.
Okay, I'm sorry, Zoom students. I hope
Yeah,
that
I
wasn't
think
too much of a problem for you. Okay, so the interpretation of dreams and the 3 levels of human needs. The 3 levels of human needs and the interpretation is destiny. It tells you where you are, where you want to go, and if you've gone too far. And in my book, Saam Medical Meditation, there's a chapter 9 where there's idea of satisfaction and dissatisfaction pertaining to each of these 3 levels of human need. You may be dissatisfied and you want things, or you may be overset. You have too much of it. So one thing that I'm not going to be doing is, this is not divination. This is not fortune telling. I'm not going to predict the future for you, okay? But it tells us where we are and maybe where the path that you're going on. So I'm going to read to you a quote of Sigmund Freud. What is common in all these dreams, and this is from his interpretation of dreams book published in 1900, 1903, Sigmund Freud. What is common in all these dreams is obvious. They completely satisfy wishes excited during the day, which remain unrealized. They are simply and undisguisedly the realization of wishes. Okay, a wish, human need, wish. The wish in his case is the human need in our case. There's a correlation there. We could consider this interpretation of dreams to be a Sigmund Freud wish-based model, okay? Pleasant dreams equals pleasant life. We want to always have pleasant dreams. That's the goal here of the Saam Acupuncture. So I'm going to introduce to you the 3 levels of human needs or wishes. The first level of human need is the need for basic necessities: food, money, material possessions. Satisfaction with these is the lung. Lung pertains to money, material possessions, as in the establishment of one's homeland, and the tools necessary to maintain or protect your home. The spleen is associated with food for physical growth, comfort, and safety. These are the level 1 human needs. The level 2 human needs are relationships, romantic or platonic or sexual. The platonic friend, family, pet relationship with God is of the heart. Sexual relationship is with the kidneys. The third level of human need is for, is the need for achievements, prestige, power, and knowledge. The pericardium is associated with the level of knowledge, the accumulation of knowledge. Remember, we said that pericardium has an inward energetic movement of wind, accumulation of knowledge. And then liver is pertaining to your need for acknowledgement of your skills, your talents, the need to perform in front of other, recognition. Back in 2002, 2003, I've been studying Saam for 20 years. So it's in his classroom manuscript that I was introduced to these 3 levels of human needs. So I propose that dreams are an expression of chi energetics in the acupuncture channels. By the interpretation of the 3 levels of human needs and dreams, we can meditate and appropriate the chi energized channel and continue in a brainwave state. Chi as a propulsive force in growth and healing expressed in dreams can direct us to the fulfillment of life's purpose, destiny, and satisfaction. So basically, when you wake up in the morning and you identify, oh, I dreamed of food. Oh, that's the level 1 need. Oh, that's a spleen. Okay, there's maybe a lot of energetic in the spleen channel of that moment. So you could wake up, interpret your dream. You can meditate on your dream. By meditation, you can act on your dream. You can achieve satisfaction, which we always want to move from satisfaction or from dissatisfaction to satisfaction. And that's what we talk about here. The simple intent with the additional, I'm sorry, let me get this for you guys. With the addition of the 3 levels of human needs, it's the books, and that's the interpretation of dreams book. This is not my Saam medical meditation. This is the interpretation of dreams book I wrote later. With the addition of the 3 levels of human needs, it's the book's simple intent to give another tool for the interpretation of one's dream. The 3 levels of human needs will be reflected in one's dream. Recognize them when they appear in your dreams. The level of human needs fluctuates constantly throughout the contours of both consciousness and unconsciousness, but also lifelong. And that's what we're going to study. Dreams of a child are going to be different than dreams of an adult. And so that's one of the dark ages of this dream, and this dream study that I've written up and that you can study and use is we can look at life changes, patterns of life of dreams from young to old. So patterns of dissatisfaction may be identified across the duration of one's life. So these may be recurring dreams that you've had from a young age that are just not, if there's a dissatisfaction, it's not going to be a pleasant dream. It's going to be something that you want or yearn for that you have yet to attain. But you can kind of gain it. You can get the satisfaction energetically by meditation and growing. Chi is a propulsive force of growth and healing, can direct you on the destiny that you want for yourself. It is human nature to want and will oneself to be delivered from dissatisfaction and suffering. So seek to become whole. Yeah, and we can find the answer. Okay, just kind of skipping through here. There's going to be some archetypal things we'll discuss. And I might as well bring it up now. The animus, Carl Jung introduced an animus figure in dreams, which back in his day, about 80 years ago, there's maybe more gender specific roles in society. So he would say the animus figure is the opposite gender of you in your dream. But I don't think so. I think it's just the animus figure is if you have a constant friend or family or some member that consistently shows up in your dreams, that may be your animus figure. And that animus figure is not that person, it's you. And you're placing your wants in that animus figure may be achieving all the wants that you want for yourself, but is projected on your friend. So it's you, it's not your friend. That friend may be particularly talented, successful, rich, but it's not your friend, it's you and wanting those things. Okay, so we're going to start talking a little bit about Carl Jung. And the reason I use Carl Jung is they studied this stuff 80 years ago, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. They hit on some useful ideas. And so, for instance, there's some useful correlation here with water. This is a quote of Jung. I'm not going to read it all, but water is the commonmost symbol for the unconscious. Water is actually like maybe the commonmost theme of dreams. How many of you have dreamed of water in your dreams? Like probably everybody. So it's a very common symbol in dreams. Well, of course, we know water is kidneys, but here it's interesting. He kind of corresponds like psychologically, water as a danger Um, there, there's some danger reflected in water. And of course, water, traditionally in Chinese history, water was significant of danger. And fear is the emotion of kidney water, and fear. So there's definitely an element of danger in water, which can be expressed in your dreams. And this is my own statement here. I'm out of the Jung quote here. If water is the commonmost symbol of unconscious, what does it mean when one dreams of water? Water is only the entry point on the road leading into the unconscious. The vessel riding atop the water is more complicated than just reflecting one layer of human need. How smooth or turbulent is the dream experienced of water? And that's key. How dangerous is your dream of water? Is it threatening you? Are you out of control? Are you going to drown? Or is it calm, smooth, placid? Do you have control? That tells you where you are at in your life. So the stronger the turbulence of water in a dream, the more disturbed or unsettled in one's place in the hierarchy of human needs is. Being unsettled or outside of the level of human needs means to rely more on primitive instinct. Psychically, this is a dangerous unknown wilderness represented by wild animals, serpents, and dreams of near drowning or death by water. Wild animals, who's had dreams of scary, threatening wild animals? Nobody. I'm the only one that's ever dreamed of a scary animal. Okay, but that's similar to water, this fear. And in theory, I'll talk about it here. Turbulence in wild animals may correspond with the strength of libido, kidney, sexual libido. Libido being the strength of one's willpower and personal drive, not necessarily, well, yes, not necessarily referring only to sexual drive, can be a correspondence to a strength of one's kidney essence. So a young person not developed within the 3 levels of human needs, but with strong libido, may have some wild, turbulent dreams. And that's the point. Young people, they don't know their place in the 3 levels of human needs. And it's just so overwhelming. And I think the young people are at most jeopardy of being drowned, attacked by wild animals. They got a lot strong kidney libido, but they're not necessarily secure in their place in life. So it can be psychically dangerous, reflected in dreams. Now, that's also key because there's young people that are brilliant, and I love identifying kids. This is the opposite. You ask somebody, and they have control over the water, a young person. They got control, and you can identify them as a pretty intelligent person, and that you can help guide them on oh, you're very intelligent, you've got control over this. You're good. You got this potential for you. Or if it's a young person, very scary, then you have to kind of coach them in that direction of maybe where you can lead them to.
Does it matter if it's a sea animal?
It doesn't matter what kind of animal. Like sea animals, bears, spiders, snakes, just if it's dangerous or not. And what's interesting is the older you get, the more secure in your 3. You may have these wild animals in your dream, but they're not a threat to you. So you're more secure in your position. So they're not as threatening. And in my opinion, as you get older, they're probably not as threatening, unless there is some kind of PTSD effect that we're still suffering from. Okay, yeah, and that's right. The more placid and calm water is in a dream, the more complete one's satisfaction in the 3 levels of human needs. One's suffering and dissatisfaction is diminished. The Carl Jung calls it individuation, which is the process of being whole, dreaming of peaceful, placid waters, pleasant flights. We have likely reached a point of individuation. An individuation is not eternal, though. And Nantiadramia is the transformation of yin and yang. Things can always change. Circumstances can change. And you can recognize it in your dreams. It's like you may be in a life-changing situation and all of a sudden there's some things come up. We're going to talk about the heart. Okay, so I'm not going to read through all this here. The heart pertains to level 2 human need, the need of relationships, family, friends, pet, angel, God. So it's obvious to identify. And this is a dream that, and from your slips, somebody had wrote they dream of their spouse that may have passed away. And that right off the bat is probably a heart level 2 need. And so I would be doing a heart channel treatment and look for other patterns. You know, when you do your clinical intake, what's interesting is you're going to find the dreams match up with your patterns and findings. There's going to be other physical findings that you're going to see that line up with the interpretation of dreams. And then also one other thing is seasonal. Right now, we're kind of coming into the end of summer. Well, maybe the dreams this summer have been heart-filled dreams of yours. And you can be aware of the seasons through your dreams. Does anybody remember their dreams of the last couple months? Has anybody had like some heart dreams, do you think? Yeah, maybe not. Okay, so yeah, recognize the seasonal. Now, on the heart, I want to go back to this Xiao Yang phenomena, the heart gallbladder. Heart is love, platonic family love. Gallbladder is courage. And it's the ability to engage in a battle with love and courage. I mean, this is like your experience as a child, I think, was love and courage, heart and gallbladder. And you exhibited, like I told you, like control over the situation. You had control at a young age, which is awesome, and you were protected. So high stress situation you're involved in, and you got an angelic visitation that saved you. But you were very intuitive too. I mean, you took a big risk. So heart gallbladder is like the fight or flight. You know, I'm going to go into this battle and with love. I mean, this is like, I liken it to the Roman soldiers back in the time of Rome, when it's like the honor of the Roman soldier to engage in battle. I mean, that's heart gallbladder courage. Well, remember, gallbladder is of the weird Xiao Yang syndrome symptoms where there can be demonic weird synchronistic events, but also if your dream is haunted. And we all know, we all learn with a disturbed heart spirit, we have nightmares, right? So nightmares, maybe heart gallbladder, you can meditate on this to expel it out of the energy and change it, pray, and change it to the angelic visitation. I think if you're visited by demons, you can equally ask God to come in and expel them out of you and bring in the good. We want to move from demonic to good, better situation. Joy is the emotion of heart. We all know that. So you have maybe the summer was joyful dreams that, you know, reflect heart. My dad, he's 90 years old, and him and my mom are together. And my dad's common dream is that every night, I always dream of your mom, and she goes away from me, and I'm looking for her. I'm looking for my mom. Well, that's a heart level dream. He's 90 years old, heart person. Now, what's interesting there, and again on the lifestyle change, I think how many of you learned, like, in regards to memory, short-term memory is rooted in the kidneys, and long-term memory is rooted in the heart. So as we age and we get the dementia diseases, which is kidney essence decline, you see memory loss, memory, bone density loss, Alzheimer, dementia diseases, short-term memory loss, but you retain that long-term memory. So it could very well be that as older people, they have a lot of heart energy, and they, of course, they've lost, you know, the older you get, unfortunately, we lose people the older we get, and you may have a real heart longing for people. So that's something for you to meditate on, and with your patients as well. Now, generally with my older patients, I do the kidney channel treatment. Like my dad, I've been doing kidney channel treatment every week, nothing but the kidneys for him for 13 years that I've been down here. Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask, when you say meditate, what does that look like?
As a person of meditation or as a practitioner of my patients?
Both?
As a all these point prescriptions that I showed you are the 4 needles, especially the tonify mother points on both sides, are the chief points that I meditate, as well as the mu points. Okay, that's the base.
I understand, but what does that look like? What do you do? Like, do you breath work? Do you look at it? What is?
I think my wife will explain.
Okay.
she calls it the dead man, and it's a yoga. You know, there's the dead man yoga position. Basically, I'm a couch potato, and I'm just lying there for hours and hours. And like I said, I do meditation 5 hours a day. I feel chi, and I can feel the chi. Like I said, it's a garden of chi, and I've been doing it for 20 years. It started as a tingling. You'll see it in my book. It took me weeks to feel this sensation of chi and where the acupuncture put the needle. And I like when I had my heart problems, I went to the doctor, and he stuck needles at PC6, which I didn't know anything about at the time. He didn't stick any needles in my chest. So later after the treatment, I said, "Why'd you put a needle there?" Anyway, it's a long story, but I meditated where he put the needle because I figured that's got to be a good point for my heart. Yeah, it's all about, yeah. And it becomes easier. It's intuitive as well as intelligent. The intuitive part is if you can feel chi. This is something very kind of difficult. It took me 3 weeks of meditating to really start feeling chi.
So how do you tell this to your patient? How do you explain this?
Well,
to
the
them?
day chi, when I put the needles in the patient,
Yes.
and we've all, okay, after the treatment, we always ask, did you feel any unusual feelings, sensations, heaviness, movement, pulsation, throbbing, feeling like an insect's crawling, phantom needle where there's not? Those are good sensations. Chi, movement, warmth. So those are the expression of chi during a treatment. And I tell them after, and I say, I had a study in my book, maybe 30% of the patients get these really great, outstanding experiences. Maybe another 30% pretty good, pretty relaxed. Maybe like 10, 15 don't feel much of anything. But I tell those patients, oh, you can meditate them. When I take them, I say, go home, meditate and see if you can still feel the chi sensation. So it's all about intuition of feeling chi. And chi kind of takes on a mind of its own. It moves where it needs to go. It's almost acting independently of our body, but you can guide it with the knowledge. So I feel the chi, and it's a very pleasant, when you start feeling the chi, it's like, oh, this is so fascinating. And I'm comfortable, I'm lying, I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable. And with basic meditation, you do have to go through a sequence. Like to meditate, you have to learn how to remove the distracting thoughts out of your mind. And the more you meditate, the better you get at it, at just clearing it up. Most people's introduction is the third eye meditation, where you focus on the yin tang. And it's all about, oh, I got a thought. Okay, let me push it to the side. Let me come back here. Let me do the breathing. Now, as we're doing with Saam, we're doing third eye meditation, but we're bringing it to the two tonifying points of these techniques. That's all we're doing. So it's a little bit of a progression. Okay. Now, also, my wife can feel chi, it takes some time to feel chi, but it becomes like a very fascinating, captivating. And then you use intelligence. Oh, I know that I can feel it. It's a heart. I got my heart symptoms expressed here in my dreams, or physically, or spleen, liver. So maybe I should meditate on the liver. And guess what? That's where the chi's at. And it's going to be like, oh yeah, that liver chi needs to be moved. You understand? Okay. So, yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, talking about that, and listening, that was probably one of those roles that every once in a while I hear a conference, and they tell you that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah.
When you're talking about and doing that, because it makes so much sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get a result. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I also had the advantage of I was dying. I was on my deathbed. And when you're on your deathbed, your health is the #1 concern. And so I'm not going to do this with my friends. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay here and meditate. So, maybe it's the healthy people that don't have the patience to do it, So it's something like a process. It takes a long time, but it's so fascinating. And I mean, it's so unknown in society that we have this energy that we can intelligently direct. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Yeah, like if I pray with my patients, I'll pretend like I'm doing the same treatment on them. I'll meditate with their treatment. And what's great is these point prescriptions, everything I've shown you in the graph, that's the base. Like I'm doing those points on the patient and I'm meditating on those points.
So when you're focused on
Could you repeat her question? Sorry.
that patient's body or on your?
Okay, she's asking kind of like a Reiki or Qigong, I think, where you can meditate on your patients or you do energy work with your patients. And that's kind of the gist of your question, I think. So if I do that, I would do Qigong or Reiki sometimes, and I meditate. I feel the energy in myself. And so I'll meditate on the same treatment. However, for me, and this is something, it's my own personal spirituality or religion, the danger is that I'm putting too much on me to do the work. And it's not me, it's from above that does the healing. And so I place it on God above, that God, that will do the work of the patient healing. When I do it, my own, because you can deplete yourself, you can drain, oh, I'm trying so hard, my energy is so full, it's going into them. Number one, you may be disappointed. Did you feel something? No, I didn't feel anything. Oh, okay. You know.
It sounds like Reiki.
Yeah, it is. It's a Reiki, Qigong Reiki. Yeah. So yeah, that's meditate, cultivate your garden of Qi. It starts as a little seed and then it gets more full, more lush. And who knows, there's certain people that have gifts like Reiki. There's people with a talent for energy healing that I don't have, that they're remarkable. They do healing, distant healing. So it is a gift in some respect. In my case, I kind of had to cultivate it the long, hard way through being sick. Just kind of, it's been a blessing though, even though I was really sick. I count every moment as a blessing. So that's what it is. No, although there could be kind of hypnotic suggestion. Oh, she asked, is it parallel to hypnosis? Now, in some cases, it could be kind of hypnotic suggestion, but I'm not trying to go into their consciousness to reach. It's just encouraging them to meditate on the Qi, giving them the encouragement and to meditate later. When some incident occurs, they can go into it. It's kind of training them how to respond. This is kind of a PTSD technique that they do at the military, where they would bring their attention to the patient's feet on the ground. So it's a grounding technique, kind of hypnotic suggestion, but just go on the acupuncture points. No power, no control, just work with the technique, for their benefit. Okay, so heart, gallbladder. Gallbladder is this idea of fighting with courage, demonic possession. Okay, maybe you need to meditate on the heart gallbladder channel technique to expel these weird things, and they may be reflected in dreams. So, okay, now this is interesting. We're going to move on to the spleen, and this comes into my research study that I asked you. What's a dream that you remember as a child? So we're going to go into that, and we'll see. I'm going to read this now. Carl Jung. Jung's earliest remembered dream at the age of 3 or 4 was one he kept secret till his mid-60s. This luminously tinged dream was situated in a meadow not far from his parents' home. In the dream, he says, I was in the meadow. Suddenly, I discovered a dark, rectangular, stone-lined hole in the ground. I ran forward curiously and peered down into it. Then I saw the stone stairway leading down. Hesitantly and fearfully, I descended. At the bottom of the doorway was a round arch closed off by a green curtain. On this platform stood a wonderfully rich golden throne. I am not certain, but perhaps a red cushion lay on the seat. It was a magnificent throne, a real king's throne in a fairy tale. Something was standing on it, which I thought at first was a tree trunk, 12 to 15 feet high and about 1.5 feet, 2 feet thick. It was a huge thing, reaching almost to the ceiling, but it was of a curious composition. It was made of skin and naked flesh, and on top there was something like a rounded head with no face and no hair. On the very top of the head was a single eye gazing motionlessly upward. Above the head, however, was an aura of brightness. The thing did not move, yet I had the feeling that it might at any moment crawl off the throne like a worm and creep towards me. I was paralyzed with terror. At that moment, I heard from the outside above me my mother's voice. She called out, yes, just look at him. That's a man-eater. That intensified my terror still more, and I awoke sweating and scared to death. What was he to make of it? The phallus, a subterranean god not to be named, an initiation into the secrets of the earth. that fearful tree of my childhood dream, revealed as the breath of life, the creative impulse. Blah, blah, blah. What happened then was a kind of burial in the earth, and many years were to pass before I came out again. Today, I know that it happened in order to bring my greatest amount of light into darkness. It was an initiation into the realm of darkness. My intellectual life had its unconscious beginnings at that time. Okay, there's 2 elements, the 5 elements. What's the first element? Yes. And just last night, as I was reviewing, I totally missed this, but I just saw it last night, and liver, wood, the wood structure. But it's the earth, the germinating, the young person. So we all know that the earth takes food and to post-heaven essence. Okay, now the spleen as a young person, the need for food is the level 1 human need. We need food to grow. So this extends to the need for physical comfort and safety in the surrounding of strangers and other people. The spleen is perhaps most unconscious during childhood. Childhood is a time of imaginative, horrific fears. Abuse, molestation, murder are the imprinted archetypes most vivid during childhood. It is one of nature's top prerogatives for a mother to protect her kids. Male lions and taking over a new pride will kill the young. Children are physically and emotionally vulnerable to abuse from both stranger and friend alike. The function of the spleen is to spur our physical growth. The bigger we grow, the less vulnerable we become. So in Jung's dream, he just saw it in the cellar, an allegory for the death, the grave, the womb. It is a descent into earth. It is a period of germination where the psyche develops. This is a lifelong process. Again, kids may be vulnerable to these that adults may not be. And that's why I wanted to ask you your dreams to see if there's a theme of descending into the earth, of the grave. Some may have expressed that or maybe not explicit. A lot of the survey questions were fear. You're in a fearful environment. Unquestionably, that was like the majority of the themes. Some are flying. So being in fear, being vulnerable. Okay, so this idea of level 1 for food extends to the mother and the food and the gathering of food in history. Worry is the emotion is associated with spleen. Imagine like food security in the old days. So food was probably always on the thought of people. So a mother's dream of accumulating food or family or meal. Now, what does that parlay into? Level 1, human need for food and material. That pertains to responsibility as well. Responsibility. And it could be reflected in your dream. Number 1, if you dream of food in a dream, you may be hungry, you may be a spleen person. You know, if you consistently dream of food or sweet things, or just, oh, I dreamed of a piece of cake. Oh, well, maybe my spleen is energetic at that time and I need to meditate. However, I also think of being responsible for other people. And this may be the overthinking. Who's ever had a job where they go home, hard day of work, weeks long of work, and they dream of work and the task, and it's the most frustrating thing, right? Who's ever had a dream of working? You know, I always think you should get paid for that. Okay, let me ask you this. As an acupuncturist, who's ever had a dream of needle spills or needle sticks? Like terrible, terrible, terrible. Like tens of thousands of needles on the ground, right? And that's our responsibility. Oh my God, I got to clean this mess up, and it gets worse and worse and worse. So I think of that being responsibility as a spleen type of dream. So we may be overthinking. We may have a lot of responsibilities for other people that will be reflected in the dream. Okay, so okay, we are going to move on. The lung. Okay, now I talked about Carl Jung. There's something kind of frustrating with him. It gets a little bit tedious. Now, I don't blame him because back in that day, they were kind of pioneers in exploring consciousness. But a lot of it that's frustrating to me is that it can pretend to be knowledge, but it leads you into nothing, the ether of nothing. Whenever he says numinous, I just think numinous is just the ether of nothing, but it pretends to be like you're knowledgeable. And this is where acupuncture completes or perfects that kind of stuff, because we provide real answers and solutions, right? So acupuncture theory like really evolves like, oh, you don't need to really focus much on Jung or Freud, in my opinion. Here's something interesting though. So he kind of captures on ideas that acupuncture theory will kind of confirm. And in this case, the lungs, breath of spirit, pneuma, wind. Jung refers to pneuma in dreams as the spirit of God. The spirit wind takes on the living presence of another entity separate to oneself. It lives of itself and it shudders, runs through the man who thought of that spirit. Okay, so what's interesting is, I think he's talking about the corporal spirit. The corporal soul, the immortal soul, resides in the lungs. So the lung, and this is grief. I don't think I mentioned it last year's. Grief is the emotion of the lungs, sadness, and the lungs are born at our first breath. The spirit of the lung, born at our first breath, dies at the last breath. And because of its recognition of mortality, it's sad and grief-stricken. Now, with the harmonized combination, the lung urinary bladder. The urinary bladder has a role of being a guardian and protecting. It's the longest channel, runs down the back. So it has a guardian kind of role. And I love it in regards to this idea of shuddering. The kind of terror evoked by the pneuma is reflective of Saam properties of the urinary bladder, which energetically is the coldest of meridians. The urinary acts as a sentry or soldier on patrol who alerted to the utmost of danger, impending danger. At the back of the neck, the hair stands up on the skin like goose flesh. Does that sound like the lung defensive chi also? So I had a dream maybe a year and a half ago. Sometimes when I can't sleep on my bed, I just roll off on the floor. I have a yoga mat and I go right back to sleep. And I had a dream where I think I was reaching up, grabbing my wife's hand, and I was like, oh, like love, the heart. And all of a sudden, a voice from the back of my head goes, and what about me? And I woke up like, whoa. And I realized whenever I was sleeping, there was a cold draft blowing on my neck. Maybe there's dust on the floor or something. Well, what happened the next day or two after? I got a scratchy throat, a sore, scratchy throat. And so that was an attack of the lungs, but the urinary bladder protected. So, well, yeah, and that would be how the pathogens are described as ghost. And so that idea reflects psychosomatic, which we didn't talk about yet. Psychosomatic, there can be physical expressions in your dreams that are expressing something physically wrong. So that's also something that you should observe and pick up on. And in the patient, that's when you see the synchronicity of your clinical findings with the patient and their dreams. You'll find some synchronicity there with the clinical findings, but also for yourself. So the lungs being like the mortal soul dying, they are the level one need for material possessions. The establishment of your home, your tools and possessions, weapons needed to protect yourself. So this corresponds to the idea of hoarding, for instance. People that have a lot of things, this is an excess. This would be an example of too much lung energy, too much satisfaction, which needs, and I mentioned before, the dreams can tell us if we've gone too far, meaning if we have too much satisfaction. Hoarding is an example. We're having too much stuff. Or obesity, weight gain is an oversatisfaction of level one human need. So when you dream, who's ever dreamed of like you're homeless, or you dream of beautiful places and you want to be in beautiful places and you wake up, it's not real. So maybe there's like a kind of a homelessness, and that's kind of recognized in the mortality of the lungs. Nothing is permanent. We're sad and grief-stricken because of that, and there's really nothing we can hold on for forever. So that can be expressed in dreams, like the want for needs for tools, can be the need for weapons. Metal is the element of lung, so there could be knives, guns, metal objects to protect one's house and belongings. So the immortal spirit seeks attachment to others. Now, there is a little bit of correspondence with the heart. As far as community, we're talking about a community. The lungs and the homeland is establishment of one's community. Well, people make up a community. So we can have a heart love for spouse, relatives, people of our community, but we can also have a lung need for people of our community. So the loss of a spouse, of a member of community can affect the mortal spirit and diminish one's kind of place in a community. Does that make sense at all? Okay, that's good. Any questions? Predicting, like in the future? She asked if I'm going to talk about predictive dreams when you dream of something and then it happens. I already did kind of, that's in the weird synchronistic event realm of the Xiao Yang gallbladder channel. That's in that weird realm. It's a Xiao Yang realm where good things or bad things can happen. And they're weird synchronistic events that occur. So we've kind of already discussed that. Okay. Okay. So the lung, community, homeland. If you're homeless, you dream of homes, cities, houses, tools. You may have a need for lung treatment. And sad. Okay. Yeah, this is in the Interpretation of Dreams book.
Yes, I have the link.
Yeah, actually, this is two books. This information's in Interpretation of Dreams, and then it's also more concisely put in Structures of Knowledge, Organ-Centered Consciousness, Structures of Knowledge. This one's just a real concise kind of categorization of everything we're talking about today. So these are available on Amazon. Structures of Knowledge, Organ-Centered Consciousness. Yeah, I'll pass this around. Go ahead, you can take a look at that. Thank you. Okay, the liver, level 3 need. This is the need for performance, recognition of one's talent and skills. We're going till 12, right? 12, okay. So who wants to be a movie star? Yeah, maybe you've dreamed of performance in your dreams. Are you performing in front of other people? Do you want their attention? Are they giving you attention? Now here, this idea becomes the idea of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Are people ignoring you in your dream or are they paying attention? If they're ignoring you, you're in the midst of people and you want their attention, but they're ignoring you, you have probably dissatisfaction of some sort. If you're performing sports, music, and there's other people around, that may be an expression of liver. As far as this 3 levels of human needs, the need for recognition of your skills, talents. Now, the liver being wood, in my opinion, signifies elevation, levitation. I think it may pertain to flying. Flying is a very common theme of dreams. So my question in the dream of flying, and this is when you ask your patients, when you're flying, are you in control of the flight? You have control, is it pleasant? Or are you dive bombing and crashing? And I had always dreams of crashing, airplane crashes, constant for all my years of heart illness. So young people, I've talked to young people, like one guy, and he's a very intelligent, and this is the mark of intelligence. Now we're in the level 3 need. This is the intelligent realm. And people that have control over their flights and dreams are intelligent. They got control of their situation. And I love it when kids have control and you identify it in children. You got control of this, man. You're smart. You're a smart boy or girl. You can encourage them on that direction. But flying, like the idea of wood, elevation, the tree, I mean, the tree expands and the flowers, like there's light as air. They want to elevate and lift. And of course, that can correspond with the idea of the eternal soul within us, which goes up to heaven. So I don't have much time, but we're going to talk about the pericardium next. Pericardium is also level 3 need for knowledge, and not just knowledge, but maybe you want to be a teacher. The performance of knowledge, demonstration of knowledge. And guess what a common dream of students is, and probably all of us here, I predict. How many of us have ever had a dream where we're unprepared for a test or quiz. So that's a level 3 human need. Being in school, being in the university, maybe that's a common place of your dreams. And well, we're all very in the highest profession, most intelligent profession here. So we all can identify with pericardium, level 3 human need. And so in summary, upon waking, kidney, if one dreams of sex, upon waking, you can meditate on the kidneys, preserve your kidney essence. Heart, when one dreams of beauty, heart is also the appreciation of beauty, aesthetic appreciation, pure loving family relationship, meditate on the heart. If one engages in a fight or battle, this can reflect heart, gallbladder, energetic. Again, same thing, meditate on the heart, gallbladder, love and courage. Spleen, when one dreams of food, meditate on the spleen. I also would say if one's dreaming of work, the frustration of work, probably need a spleen meditation. When one dreams of public performance, meditate on the liver. When one dreams of being in a city, house, homeland, meditate on the lung. Knowledge now, knowledge is also a study of the past. So regret, learning from mistakes can be an expression of knowledge. We learn from a past mistake. And so if you wake up, if you have a dream that, oh man, I did that. And like you say you're a thief in a dream and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? You know, and you wake up and you're like, oh, thank God, I'm not in trouble. I'm not going to get arrested. Well, maybe that's a pericardium. You've learned from a harsh lesson. And thankfully the dream, it was just a dream. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question about the meditation?
Yeah.
If you're meditating on boredom, when I meditate with a purpose. Like my purpose is to just completely relax whatever part of my body is. But to meditate on an organ is to meditate to do what?
Well,
I have to have a reason.
Yeah. So she's saying that she goes to sleep with a purpose, and she's going to dream. She wants to dream of flying, and she's going to have and I forget the name of it. Does anybody remember the name where you can consciously direct your dream? Lucid dreaming. I think that's kind of a lucid dreaming. Like you can kind of control your dreams, but I'm not focused on that. I'm more focused on the result of your dream and what comes after your dream and where that dream tells you you're at.
Well, here you've got a dream of water.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, a lot comes with water. So now I want to meditate on the lungs. So what do I tell the lungs to do? I mean, what do I, how?
Well, then you meditate on the prescription, the point prescription. She's asking, what do you do when you identify something? You meditate with Saam Acupuncture. You can meditate on the point prescriptions of Saam. And particularly the 2 tonifying mom points. That's the 2, and you'll see if you got a lot of energy there. See if you can feel things going on.
Well, I'm more primitive than that. Actually, like I meditate on the point.
Oh.
What is that like?
So you're either tonifying or reducing, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, in the
that's
beginning,
purpose.
yeah, in the
That's it.
beginning, because this is all brand new and it's like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
really strange. You know, keep it simple. You know, meditate on just the 2 tonifying mom points, but with more sensitivity. And you know, when you get to know the point prescription, then you add the sedating techniques.
Oh,
It's the garden of chi.
I'm meditating sedated.
I would just focus on the tonifying points with Saam Acupuncture. And I don't necessarily do a lot of like sedating techniques. I like the harmonized combination because I think it reduces what needs to be reduced and kind of harmonizes or tonifies what needs to be tonified. Okay, so relationships. Level 1, if you have a dream of responsibility, that may be a spleen or lung. If you have a dream of love or sexual, that's level 2, heart or kidney. Performance or command. You have command over other people, or you're being ignored by them. That would be liver. So we're going to move on to the study and the animus. I talked about the animus, which is maybe a repetitive person, friend, maybe somebody that's way more successful and you want to have their success. Maybe it's like a celebrity that returns in your dreams. Well, when you dream of that, you're not actually dreaming of that person, you're dreaming of yourself and the wants that that other person is achieving. So it's back to you. Now, we're going to move into the study. Now, what I did is I wrote a research paper. Oh, no, actually, sorry, this is really interesting. Sigmund Freud has a famous case study of the patient Dora. And She was 18 years old when she came to Freud. She had a condition of aphonia, loss of voice. And he did a couple dreams with her where in Dora's first dream, her house is on fire. Her father's trying to rescue her, but there's a need of her mom to save a jewel box. In her second dream, the patient is frustrated in her attempt to return home via a train. These aspects of the dream indicate turbulence and uncertainty of the dream. I don't have time to go through the whole dream, but she lost her parents, I think, at a young age. And her dream reflects heart, lung, she's kind of homelessness. And well, her chief complaint was aphonia, loss of voice. Well, the tongue, heart, she lungs for voice. So in her dream, and you can read it, it's all in your notes there, you can look at that and identify the 5 elements in her dream, and you can correspond that to her condition. So I'll let you read that. Unfortunately, I don't think we got time. And her parents were in a loveless marriage. Her mom trying to save a jewel box, that's a lung material possession that she's probably has dissatisfaction with, of course. And their parents was not a loving relationship. So she probably had dissatisfaction in the heart, in the lung, and it expressed itself in this physical manner of aphonia. By the way, that was a failed patient of Sigmund Freud. He kind of, I don't know, like attributes like, oh, well, she had a crush on me and that's why it failed, you know? So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of faults, you know, I kind of, you know, he at a certain point, like you stop thinking about Freud because everything became like sex. And then that was it. That's done. You know, Carl Jung kind of went into this the realms of, you know, I call it the ether of nothingness, but acupuncture is here to really dovetail these things because we have great solutions and practical applications. Now, this is the paper. It's on Amazon. It's called The 3 Levels of Human Needs and the Interpretation of Dreams. What this comes down to in the back is about 100 or so survey questions that if somebody was to take a research project, they could create a survey and we could take the answers of the survey and write like 100 different research papers from it. You all got the survey questions there. And we're just going to work off the hypothesis. Now, the reason that it's interesting for you is this will give you an idea to really look at each of these things and apply them to yourself. This helps you to think about these things and apply them to yourself and your dreams. It's for us to understand. Understand yourself first and then do the research. Understand yourself first and then apply it with the patients, okay? So just the following is a research program taking manuscript. If anybody's interested in this, you can reach me at my email there, The 3 Levels of Human Needs and Interpretation of Dreams. So what's interesting, and this is something I really want to bring your attention to, is we talked about the wish needs. Sigmund Freud is obvious, they satisfy wishes, excited during the day. However, what is interesting is Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. How many have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs? Many people. Look at these. Look at the level of human needs that are reflected in this. Physiological safety, level 1 need for food, material possessions. Social, need for relationships. Sexual, romantic. Look at the top 2. Esteem, self-actualization, recognition of one's accomplishments, and knowledge and power. So when Saam was revitalized in Korea in the 1980s, and they came up with this level of human needs, I suspect, I don't know, and this is somebody for Korean to research the origins of the 3 levels of human needs in Korea, because I kind of suspect they took Maslow's model and made it into the 3 levels of human needs. That's kind of what I suspect the origin. Now, in regards to the interpretation of dreams, well, number 1, as a possible hypothesis survey question, understand the similarities and contrasts between Maslow's hierarchy of human needs and Saam Acupuncture's 3 levels of human needs. Now, obviously, the 3 levels of human needs can extend Maslow's hierarchy more because we can identify organs and we can act on it. Whereas in the Western perspective, okay, I got this physiology, well, how do we satisfy that? You know, esteem, where do we go with there? And that's kind of like, I don't mean to be mean or disrespectful, but I think acupuncture is so effective compared to, we'll call it other psychological techniques. things can get accomplished much quicker, I think. But anyway, we could do a comparison of the 3 levels of human needs to Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. And then also, as part of the research, at the end of the notes, I did a PubMed search. And I said, okay, well, let's look at if there's any dream studies incorporating Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. And I didn't find much. And maybe it's my own deficit of researching and so forth. I found one study. I think it's the second hypothesis down. I found one study where if you go to like number 2, there was a pilot study of Maslow's human needs model and the interpretation of dreams from foods, a pilot study for the analysis of dream reports using Maslow's need categories, an extension to the emotional selection hypothesis. I don't know what that is. The 6 higher needs: belongingness, esteem, cognitive, aesthetic, self-actualization, transcendence, were scored significantly more frequent, 81%, than the lower 10 needs, the basic needs, physiological and safe. Basic needs were more likely to be judged as thwarted, while higher needs were more likely to be judged as satisfied. Really? I don't think so. Really? Satisfaction? Are most people satisfied with their level of power, accomplishment, knowledge? These findings, okay, so there's one study here that I think, and this is kind of where I say that the interpretation of dreams, we're in the dark ages. I mean, there's not much study on this. And that's why I wrote this whole report, is to potentially offer more a beginning to really look into the dreams in more detail. Like, I don't think, I think more people may dream of food and material possessions than they study. They may not recognize this stuff. Physiological need, what did they identify that as? A house, a town, weapon? No, they didn't identify that. So of course it's not going to be represented in their dream study. Okay, are y'all following me? We're wrapping up. We got like 5 minutes to go here, so we're almost done. Okay, yeah, and then also part of the study, it's the author's hypothesis that themes of dreams change throughout human life cycle. Dreams may be common for children are different as we get older. Like, for instance, I would love to do a study in more detail on children's dream, whether they do have a correspondence of spleen descending into the earth, going down into lower places, scary places, being buried. I think that would be a really interesting subject to study for children. And that's why I had you asked to do those little slips, which I thank you all for filling those out. Here's another one. Despite the ambiguity of dream themes, it is apparent certain events or objects are common to dreams. These have been large-scale surveys, including falling, fire. I showed you that dream survey at the beginning. Falling is a common theme, being chased. But what does that mean? I mean, they just stop there. What does it mean to be flying or falling? Are you in control? Are you out of control? They don't have an answer. They don't approach that question. And that tells us where we are at, where we may want to go if we're dissatisfied. So that's this is ripe material for study. Water. Does the turbulence reflect kidneys, potential PTSD, traumatic? Is water dangerous? Wild animals, is it different as we get older? Survey, are you an older person? Do you dream of this? Or a younger person? Do you have crazy water dreams? That would be interesting. I think it can help direct people, it just give them guidance. I mean, it's like if we're in the dark ages, we're like in nowhere.
Is there a percentage that probably?
Yeah, there is, but I don't know specifically. She asked if there's a percentage of people that don't remember their dreams. And yes, I'm sure there is. However, if you want to remember your dream, it helps. Before you go to bed at night, you ask, oh, let me remember my dream. And if you do an interpretation of dreams and you're at a point, you're going to remember your dreams and they're going to be providing for you information that you can work on. So you can ask to remember your dreams, and then it's going to be, yeah, you can write it down. Journal your dreams in the morning. See if you can meditate on that. Okay, another survey question. Are there psychosomatic implications to dreams? Is there somebody with a lung issue? Do they have homeland dreams, sadness, grief? So there's potential there. Wouldn't that be great? People, oh, I've got this lung problem and my dreams are always like searching for a homeland. And what do you know? There's a correspondence between my dreams and my physical problem. I can meditate, or you go to the acupuncture. Maybe if you guys can do this, maybe there's a network referral that you could refer people to. 1 minute. No, I just think, yeah, go ahead.
There's one question on.
Okay.
You want me to read
Yeah.
it out?
Yeah,
So the question here is, my 83-year-old mom dreams off and on, especially last night. She has vivid dreams of herself as 10-year-old with her dad, who already passed away. For clarification, this is a sign of heart. She needs treatment for heart, yes. Meditate on her heart.
exactly, and good job. I think we could all identify that one. I mean, before he even the question, they answered their own question, right? And you could all identify that. 83-year-old lady dreams of when she's a young girl, remember long-term memory. You know, we've all heard stories. I can't remember where I put my car keys, but I can remember the color of my bike and the tassels on my bike. That's like heart memories. So yeah, remember vivid dreams, remembering her child and then her husband who passed away. So yes, in answer to your question, there's maybe a dissatisfaction in her dream. So you can do a heart channel treatment and maybe she can come with some kind of energetic satisfaction. Yes, great question and great job. Good job. Okay, we're almost done here. Are there seasonal implications to dreams? Like I said, maybe this past couple of months you've had heart. Well, what's going to be going on? We're going to be going into the autumn season, the lung, you know, lung is dryness, harvest. So we'll see, is there going to be uncertainty in your homeland, in your possession? You know, so are there seasonal implications? They can be identified perhaps. And then let's just, and then the survey questions. This is the question that I kind of wrote up. The Likert scale, like each question I have, like you could answer using a Likert scale. Frequently, often, sometimes, how, never know. So you can match like the Likert scale. I just put A. Questions regarding general dreams, food. Now I go into the 5 elements: dreams of school, dreams of ghost, poltergeist. That's Shao Yang realm, heart, gallbladder, probably. Then these group questions, spleen, I pertain to spleen, lung, heart, kidney. As the questions go on, you can identify, or you can look at these, and it just gives you something to think about, to get yourself familiar. As you dream, you can kind of get an idea. There may be dreams of flying, is it, or turbulence in water. Are you in control of the, is the situation in control of you? Do you long for other people? Are you ignoring people? This can be another oversatisfaction of level 3. If you have a dream, like say you're Elon Musk, most famous rich guy in the world, what are his dreams? I can imagine people, Elon, and he's like, you know, that would be a level 3 need of oversatisfaction, too much attention. So there can be that aspect too. Okay. A and B. I have to go back. Where's
Psychosomatic implications.
okay?
200.
Oh yeah. How do dreams? She wants to know what's the answer to hypothesis question number 5. How do dreams of those who consider themselves in good health compare to those considered not to be in good health? And that's a question like are you in good health? Do you have any health problems? On the survey, okay, you're in good health. You probably have satisfaction. But if you're not in good health, what's the problem? Is there things in your dreams that pertain to that? Like I said, you can correlate dream themes with clinical findings in practice. And then is there a correspondence between identified organ system illness and dreams? The same kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, so I think we are gotten to the end. And then also at the last thing, there's also like, I mean, you could phase 2 start later on, you gather the data, you can take the data, sort it out and this and that. That could come in later stage. However, I just wanted to show you like my PubMed search. When I did interpretation of dream studies and PubMed, I came up with very few studies. So I think this is a ripe subject for research and study. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you came this way and that you're able to sit through the class. Any other questions or anything?
There's one question here on Zoom.
Oh, we got a question.
Do you offer internships?
Yes, but we're not really equipped in our clinic. We're not a super busy clinic, but if you can go to the books, basically, I hope that everything in my books that I've written has been presented here. But yes, I mean, if somebody wants to come and observe, absolutely. Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.